model for a multiplication word problem. We'd read a problem, and if it fit this pattern, then we'd know it was a multiplication problem. Well, division problems, they also have a model. And what's great about division word problems is they actually have the same parts as a multiplication problem. They're just used differently. They're in kind of a different order. If you'll recall, with a multiplication word problem, this is what we had. We had number of groups times group size gives you a total. That's what we had for a multiplication word problem model. Now take a look at this again. Here what we're given, in a division problem, we got the same parts. We're given, though, what's a little bit different is, in this case, we're given the total. In the multiplication word problem, we had to find a total. With a division problem, we're given the total, and we're given one of two things. We're either given group size, or we're given the number of groups. We're given this either way. We're given the total, and we're given either group size or the number of groups. And our job is to divide the total by that group size or by that number of groups. And what we're going to get in the end, we're either going to get the missing piece. In this case, if we have total divided by the group size that we're given, we'll get the number of groups. Or if we're given the number of groups, we'll divide total by number of groups, and we'll get the group size. That's the model for a division word problem. So when you're reading something, if you're given a total, and then you're given something that looks like either group size or number of groups, and then you're asked to find something else, there's a real good chance you get a division problem on your hands. Well, what does that look like in a real word problem? Well, let's take a look at an example. Morris drove his most excellent Camry 943 miles last month. If it gets 23 miles to the gallon, how many gallons did he use? Now, obviously, you should be able to tell in this case. One of those numbers in that is the total. And the other number is either going to be group size or number of groups. And we're not going to talk about which one it is just yet. But I want you to think about this. This is what I want you to do, basically. I want you to tell me this 943 miles, what piece is that? Okay? Is it the total, or is it group size, or is it number of groups? And then this 23 miles to the gallon, is that total, or is that group size, or is it number of groups? Okay? In other words, one of these two numbers is going to go here, and one of these two numbers is going to go here, and then we're going to do the division and get our answer. Okay? That's what we're looking for there. So I want you to think about this. All right, so I'm just going to tell you this. 943 miles, that's the total number of miles that he drove, okay? Well, what that means, then, is that what we're going to be doing is we're going to divide him by 23. Now, I've already given it away, 943 miles, that's total. Then 23 miles has to be either number of groups or group size. 23 miles per gallon. What do you think that is? If you said group size, you're absolutely correct. Okay, 23 miles for 1 gallon. That's a size, that's the distance you can drive on 1 mile of gas. Okay, so 943 divided by 23. You're not going to do that on paper? No way, I don't have time for that. 41. Number of groups. In other words, number of gallons, right? 41 gallons of gas. That's one example, all right? And I want you to think about this. Think about this. If we multiplied 41 times 23, wouldn't that get us back to 943? Remember, number of groups times group size gives you the total, right? Just like if I said 24 divided by 3 gives you 8, and 8 times 3 would give you 24, right? It's the same idea. You're just working it backwards. Let's take a look at another problem. A field trip costs a certain school district $5,715. There were 45 students that went on this trip. What was the cost per student? Okay, so I want you to do the same thing you did in the last problem. I want you to tell me that 5,715. What does that represent in this word problem? Is it the total? Is it the group size? Is it the number of groups? What is it? And then with the 45, tell me, okay, is that the total? Is it the group size and the number of groups? What do those numbers represent in this problem? Push pause and think about that for a minute and go for it. Okay. $5,715. That is the total cost for the district. So then obviously you should know at this point then that this 45 here, you're dividing by 45. But the question is, 45 students, is that the number of groups or the group size? If you said you are correct. So, total divided by the number of groups is going to give you the group size. In other words, group size, I mean, what are we talking about there? $5,715 divided by 45 students. What is the group size? What is that? I don't just mean a number. I mean, we can get the number. The number, that's $127. Well, what does that mean, $127? Group size, $127. What is that? It's the cost per student. Okay? It's how much money one student will cost on that field trip. So, just a couple of word problems for you to think about.